Welcome to Hard Hats and Horizons, the podcast where we dig deep into the construction and economic development shaping the future of Dallas-Fort Worth. We bring you insights from industry leaders and visionaries who are driving growth in North Texas. From construction projects to industry trends and insights, we cover it all. So grab your hard hat and join us as we explore the people and projects shaping the skyline of DFW. Now, here is your host, Andrea Pender.
Okay, we are going to get started today. We have Rachel Kennedy with us. She is the Chief Lightkeeper at Southern Lighthouse. And I'm super excited to have her on today. I feel like we could talk for hours. We will put a limit on it, though, at some point in time. So thank you for being on the show.
You are so welcome. I'm thrilled to be here, Andrea. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, first of all, kind of just tell us a little bit about what your firm does.
Yes, Southern Lighthouse was started in 2020. My background is in commercial construction on the talent acquisition side. I worked at Beck, a general contractor in Dallas, for most of my career. And in 2020, realized there were so many great construction companies out there that just weren't telling their story, that I wanted to be kind of that guiding light to help them get where they wanted to go in terms of attracting the right talent in the door. So Southern Lighthouse was started in the heat of the pandemic. I had no website, no clients, no presence, but I did have a LinkedIn profile. And so I posted on LinkedIn one day, a superintendent I had worked with 6 years prior said, "Hey, we'd love to work with you." And that was the moment when I realized both LinkedIn, technology and tools, and real relationships come together to make a really powerful business move forward. So I had my first client. On that first day, I opened our doors. It's been really wonderful helping construction firms know their story and show their story so that they can attract talent.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And I obviously have a soft place in my heart for this just because I think it's interesting. I love to do it. I see the value in it, but there are a lot of people that don't understand it yet exactly. And so you have some courses and offerings and educational material for that. So maybe talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. What I realized was there are amazing companies doing amazing things. There are fantastic leaders. The thing we're not doing is talking about it, talking about the great work that we're doing. And so my job is to come in and partner with leaders to help them tell their personal story. And we do that through our Brand Accelerator program. I also partner with companies, so growing GCs, subcontractor, trade partners, and help them clarify and know their story so they can show their story. And that's really the basis of their messaging and positioning, figuring out what makes them different, better, special than everybody else out there. So we do that through our Know Our Story program and helping with branding and positioning. And then we've started teaching employees how to help the company tell their story. And so we have a program that's called the Employee Storytelling Program. That we go in-house and really help people learn to use their voice on LinkedIn, on social media, on Glassdoor, Indeed, in their everyday conversations in the elevator pitch, and really help them crystallize, how do I talk about this company that I love?
Yeah.
Using the right words and being a great brand representative, because at the end of the day, people trust people, not brands. So the more that our people can help tell our story, the more powerfully it can get out there.
So I know we've talked about this, and I have an answer kind of for what I get in my office. What do you hear the most of on why people are not posting or not using LinkedIn?
I think there are about 5 reasons why people are hesitant, and they're all completely legitimate. One is, I don't have time. Like Tony Stark, like, I'm too busy, or I don't see value in this. I think a lot of people are like Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec, kind of like, I don't want to sound conceited. I don't want to sound braggadocious. They're the Ron Swansons of the world. Like, my work should just speak for itself. People should just know that I do good stuff. The Sheldon Coopers of the world, like, I need it to be perfect every single time. Or we have like the Dwight Schrutes of the world who are like, who wants to hear from me? I don't have anything of value to add. But the truth is that you do have value to add. Even 4 years into your career, you absolutely have 15 minutes a day that you could start building your brand. Tony Stark, unfortunately for the Ron Swansons of the world, like, if we don't tell our story, no one else will.
Right.
And so, yes, your work is amazing, but you have to open your mouth and start sharing it. And for the Leslie Nopes who are worried about sounding self-conceited and braggadocious, I just say, the world needs your story. And there are absolutely people out there who want to hear it and need to hear it, are excited to hear it. You just got to take that first step.
Oh, I reached out to you just to do like a 1 hour one-on-one call.
Yeah.
Not talking about Carco, more so talking about my Ladies in Siri monthly breakfast. Because I've had somebody say, "Oh, are you still doing your like ladies thing?" And I was like, "Oh boy, like I need to make sure that this is not just a ladies thing." And so I think that was maybe right after we had met or soon after. And I was like, "Okay, let's talk this through." And you have it in all of your information on your website. It's like you have to have your pillars, you have to have a goal. You can't. So kind of talk to us about that, and then I'll throw back in like what I ended up doing.
Yes. You can't read the label from inside the bottle, right? So often we're so close to our story or our brand that you need this outside perspective to come in and just help adjust a little bit. I'll also say when I first started posting on LinkedIn and starting my business, I was all over the place, random acts of content. I'll talk about being a mom, living in Dallas, and email marketing and construction, and I had no clarity. And so just actually after hiring someone to help me with my positioning and messaging, I really was able to zoom in and clarify who I am, what I stand for, and who I help. And so that's what I like to help other leaders do too, is be that outside perspective to help them hone in and crystallize their message so they can have total clarity and confidence in what they're saying.
So let's rewind. Who are you? Like, I want to hear your answers.
I'm Rachel Kennedy. I am the Chief Lightkeeper for Southern Lighthouse. We are a branding and marketing agency for growing construction firms who are ready to know their story and show their story.
Nice. What were the other two questions? I want to hear those answers too.
What makes you special, different, better? I have a background in commercial construction and in talent acquisition. So I'm always thinking, okay, how does this move the needle in terms of attracting the talent that we so desperately need?
So this podcast was originally brought to us from a consultant who was like, "You need to do this for recruiting purposes." I mean, obviously it's getting brand awareness. Like I'm going places, people are pulling on my, "Oh my gosh, I see," like they're pulling me aside. Like I've watched your podcast. And I'm like, "Who are you? Like, this is awesome." But ultimately it was for recruiting. So if people were doing a search, YouTube videos and that kind of thing comes out at the top of a search. And so it's like, okay, there's not a lot of industry podcasts. So this is ultimately like a recruiting tool.
It is, and it's a differentiator and it's a way to stand out. And I'll be curious to hear like what has come out of it on the back end. Like, have you gotten more applications? Or when those applications come through, do they mention the podcast? Like, have you seen anything on the back end as a result yet, or still kind of watching?
So I think we're definitely still watching. We did interview a young lady, maybe 2 months ago at this point, and it came up and she was like, "And we saw that you had a podcast." And I was like, "Yes, it's working." So, I'm going to give myself a 100%, which is not, but I was like, okay, awesome. She saw this and she thought it was interesting. Yeah, I think we're still too new to really dig in and figure out where we're at on the data and on the back end stuff. But so far what we're seeing, it's pretty exciting.
That's exciting. It is different. I don't see a lot of podcasts for our industry or certainly like within your competitors. The other cool thing I think about your brand is a bird's nest, and the birds or candidates are picking up sticks and twigs and whatever is lying around, and they are creating in their mind what it looks like to work at your company. And so that bird's nest may be made up of cigarette butts, bad piece of news from Glassdoor or Indeed or whatever you're putting out there, they're going to pick up, right? And so this is one big stick that you have put out there for them to pick up and really help them build the brand up in their mind.
So to kind of wrap back on when you helped me for just the ladies group, you're like, Andrea, like we need to show people the value. Like, what are they getting out of this? What do the people need to hear that aren't in the meeting? And so long story short, I sent some emails. I had some conversations with the ladies because I wanted data. And so, because you were like, you have to have data, like you have to be able to have these things. And so then I ended up doing like a series. And I think I repeated that same series like once a month or twice a month. I can't remember the exact cadence, but I went through those same topics for probably close to a year. And I just checked it earlier. The very first post where I explain this is exactly what the women's groups are. We are not just a group of ladies hanging out. We're literally passing millions of dollars worth of business to one another. That post is my highest ranked post. And then I can remember I posted that and went to, I think it was GC night. It was one of the big industry events. And I had owners of companies. I don't know why everyone pulls me, but they're like pulling me aside. Hey, I just saw your LinkedIn post. Can I get my ladies involved? I saw your LinkedIn post. You're really passing referrals and doing Yes, like that's what we're doing. So I like they're not in the room. So people have to hear what we're doing. And then you're there to help it make it happen.
That's right. I love that you had that transformation of, you've already done so many great things. You had a great profile. You're doing things in real life, bringing real women together and networking, and you're posting about it. I think you needed just a little bit of a tweak to hone in on the value, because it sounded like the message you were hearing back or people were hearing was like, this is a group of ladies who get together and have fun.
Yep.
Or they go to yoga or they foam roll together. What you pivoted to is this is a group of women who get business done and passing millions of dollars of business back and forth. And that value is so much higher than the value of going to do foam rolling together.
Right.
So you just need a tiny, tiny adjustment in your sales to ultimately have a much more powerful message that resonated with people. And then people said, we want to be part of that too.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for doing that. Cause it was kind of eye opening and I've been able to file it away and okay, how can we use this in another way? So, what are some challenges that you have had over the last few years with the new company?
I never wanted to be a business owner.
Okay.
Was not my plan. I love working for companies. And one thing I have worked really hard on is building up an outside network of support. Sometimes when you start a business, it's really lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And so like as our team has grown, it's gotten less lonely, but I've worked hard to find other business partners, other referral partners, other entrepreneurs and mentors and guides to kind of surround me so it doesn't feel so isolating. So I think it can be really lonely, but I've found it hard to build out a larger community around.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people forget about, because even if you're a business owner at a 500-person firm, sometimes it's lonely in those positions because you're the only. Right. You don't have a team of 8 owners. You have 1 owner.
Right. And owners are wearing 17 hats at the same time. They are the janitor and the CEO and the marketer and the accountant. They're the visionary and the executor. And no matter how big your team is, there's still a lot you have to do and divide your time on. And so I think becoming much more ruthless about prioritization and strategy helps a lot.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of talk on that a little bit because I know you're a mom, you're a wife, you have kids. And so I think that's one of the things that people very easily, they work 24 hours a day and it's like, but you can't do that. So let's talk about how are you prioritizing things?
I had my second son in February of 2020. And then I had this business in May of 2020. Both of my babies are 5 years old now. And I think about them all constantly, but I have also been pretty ruthless in my prioritization of understanding, that my family and myself and then business goes in that priority.
That's huge.
And I think just knowing that going forward, I have also tried to time block a lot. And that's been helpful to say, like, these are my anchors. I'm committing to this time with the family, or I'm committing to this, and then I'm going to fit in work around that, or kind of around that. Yeah. So I think just figuring out like what are those anchors in your life and in your day. And I live and die by my calendar. So
same.
If it's on the calendar, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if it's not, it won't. But prioritizing the things that are most important. And I think we've all heard that analogy of like the glass jar. And if you put in the golf balls first, then you can put in the pebbles and then you can put in the sand and the water. But if you put in the pebbles with the water and the sand, there's no room for the golf balls. Right. So like making sure the big things are taken care of first, and then you can squeeze in a little stuff.
Well, and I think that, sometimes people are like, oh, well, it's just tennis. And you're like, man, that's what I need to decompress so I can keep going for the rest of the week. So tennis is just as important as another meeting, but I think you have to be at the right mindset, or, I think maybe mindset's just the only word I could think of, but to be able to say, I can't make it to that Wednesday evening event. And then you can just press period. You don't have to say, because I'm playing tennis, or you can just, I'm not available at this time.
That's right. Nobody knows what you're doing at 2 p.m. unless you tell them.
Yeah, years ago, there was a woman that I worked with, and I really appreciated this. And every Wednesday, she and her friend lived in Fort Worth, she lived in Dallas, and every Wednesday they would meet halfway and have dinner, or do like a fitness class and dinner, or whatever it was. Wednesday evening was their thing. I'm like, good for them, because they're grown-ups. And so many times that's not on the priority schedule. And I remember once at a meeting, she said, I can't go because I'm meeting my friend for dinner and yoga. And then someone else said, well, you could do that another time. And it's just like, no. And so we had a conversation and just say, nope, I'm not available on Wednesday. It just,
nobody's asking for details. You shape the narrative in the market, right? And you are in charge of your life and your schedule, and nobody should make you feel guilty for the choices you make.
Well, and you mentioned time blocking. I think if people are kind of aware, they know I'm really good in the morning, or I'm really good in the afternoon to get XYZ projects done. And so I feel like the last few years I blocked off my schedule on, this is the time I need to get the stuff done in front of my computer, or because it's like, if I take all the prime time to go do something else, then I'm missing out on all of that.
Yeah, a big aha moment for me was modulating my energy and looking at, like, I have the most creative energy, energy in the morning, and that absolutely wanes, and that wanes massively after lunch. And so it's like, where am I giving the best parts of me to? So that I can kind of recharge by the time my kids are home in the afternoon and be with my husband at night. And so I'm learning, like, I've got to get my workout done first thing in the morning. Then the most creative work, so writing for me needs to happen in the morning. And then if conference calls or meetings or research is a good afternoon life for me. But just kind of reordering my day around my energy has been really huge.
Yeah, I wish everyone would let's try this out and see how it works. Yeah, I'm really glad that I took the time to kind of figure that out. What are some things that have motivated you, or some lessons that you have learned along the way?
Oh my gosh, I learn a lesson every single day. It was just at Texo teaching a networking class with Preston Presley and Doug Carr, and I'm teaching as if I'm the expert in networking. Really, just from them, I'm learning, and I'm standing up in front of the room, but I'm listening and also taking notes. Like, wow, that is such a good idea to be strategic when you go to a networking event. Have 3 people in your head and go talk to those 3 people. Like, that's so strategic, rather than sort of just like wandering in the room and hoping you find the right people. I was there to talk more about the social media, networking, and research, and utilizing LinkedIn as a business development tool. But I can absolutely learn about in-person networking much better from experts like this guy. So I learned so much. Last summer, I went through a program called Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. No one teaches you how to be a business owner.
No.
Yeah. And that was a 14-week class, intensive, in person, where you walk through with other entrepreneurs 14 different lessons on business development and profitability and all of these topics. And so that was really great, from kind of a knowledge, understanding how to run a business, because so much of it is relationship based, but then you've also got systems and processes, and you've also got financials.
Right.
And you need to be good at all of it. Yeah. So I learn things every day.
That's awesome. No, and good for you for signing up. You had to apply for that. That was an application process.
It is. You apply, you interview, and then hopefully get accepted. But it was a really great pause in my business to look and think about scaling and looking bigger. I think so often we're in the moment and we're just heads down and going. But for me, that was just a summer pause to kind of think bigger about where we want to go and be strategic. And then after that, it's been executing on that plan.
Nice. Well, and it's one of those things, there's only one of you. So let's kind of talk about scaling. What are some of your scaling goals?
Yeah. So in the last year, I've had a graphic designer, and I brought in an operations manager, and that has been a game changer. In one of our first meetings, she said, what's on your to-do list? And I was like, well, I've got some things in my head and I've got some things on my notebook. And she goes, I can't see your notebook.
Yeah, no. Or your head. What's in your
I
head?
can't see what's in your head. So help me help you, and let's put this somewhere else. So she has been instrumental in us really becoming much more process oriented. So we've implemented ClickUp for tasks.
Okay.
So it's like Monday.com kind of thing.
We use Monday and
That's what I thought. Yes. So similar, all of our tasks are on ClickUp. We're also in Slack. So we've got this kind of like back channel communication, not leading on email, which is so easy to do.
Nice.
And then she's really helped me with documenting like our standard operating procedures. So we are now kind of more of a rinse and repeat and just have a plan and a system kind of so that we are scaling in a way that is more sustainable and still delivering really excellent quality for our clients, but they know exactly what to expect. And we have a playbook to run off of.
That's awesome. Yeah, we started doing some SOPs for just like the marketing department. Because I don't know where everything's at, and so it's like, well, gosh, if something happens, would we be able to figure out where it's saved? So we have a lot of SOPs just for little things, even just like, how do we order swag? What does that look like?
Yes.
So, yeah, no, that's it. That's important. And scaling is that interesting thing that it's the end of the year. And so people are always, putting their plans in place and all that kind of thing. So that's, I feel like, always like a topic of conversation this time of year.
Yeah. And looking forward, like what does the next year look like? And also that intentionality to take a pause and look backward. Hey, look at all the stuff we did. We launched a podcast this year. We rolled out a new website, or we rolled out new branding, or we got new swag. All of those things I think deserve a moment to say like, gosh, look at us. This is awesome, especially in this team environment when we're all going so quickly. And then also planning, okay, this was great. Now, where do you want to go? And then let's break it up into manageable pieces.
Yes. So talk to us about mentorship. Where has that played a role throughout your career, throughout life?
Huge. And I'll make the distinction. I am both a fan of mentorship and sponsorship. So I think of a mentor as someone to, kind of walk alongside you, coach you, help you grow. I think of a sponsor as someone who is outside of that purview, often sitting in rooms you're not sitting in, but advocating and championing for you. So I have had both categories in my career.
Huge.
I sat next to a woman in HR named Holly Crowder, and I was lamenting to her one day. I was like, gosh, I feel like I should go find a mentor. I don't know if anybody will do it. I just need somebody who will like talk to me and coach me and guide me and like go through all these struggles and not going to complain to. And she goes, Rachel, what do you think I am? And I was like, oh, right. It's just like, you talk to me, I coach you, I mentor you every day. And I thought, you're right. It could be the person sitting right next to you. It doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be outside your company. It could be someone you probably already have in your purview. But that was a moment where I realized like, oh, the mentor's right here. And so I actually started Beck's mentorship program that year. And that's where we had a formal pairing of a mentor mentee.
Nice.
And the big takeaway for me from that was that it needs to be bidirectional. Both parties are very willing and locked in to do it.
Yes.
And the mentee is driving that train.
Yes.
The mentor should not be setting up the meeting, asking them for coffee.
Yes.
Kind of bottom up. And what ends up happening is both parties benefit.
Yes.
And so it was really cool. Then we had architecture and project management. So we had field and office. We had marketing and accounting. We tried to really have diversity in pairings and really go through their application and figure out what they needed and wanted. And that really enriched all of the relationships because guys from the field were like, man, I had no idea. Yeah, I did this, and vice versa. So that was a really powerful program that I think is still going today. The role of sponsorship is incredibly important too, because I think about, I was not in the rooms with leadership. I had no visibility to them and they had no visibility to me.
Right.
But my boss did. Right. Joe Flores, who you had on the podcast. So he was a really, really critical sponsor for me and would say my names in rooms I wasn't.
Nice.
And so I was known, and he pulled me into a group called CIT that was a core improvement team. And he said, I need you to take notes. And I was like, oh, this is so boring.
He might have mentioned this in the podcast.
And I said, really? Like, this is an 8-hour meeting. Well,
Mhm.
the truth was they didn't need anybody to take notes.
Yeah.
No one read a word of the notes that I took.
Mhm.
He was intentionally putting me in front of this
Love it.
leadership
Love it.
every single month. And I didn't realize it until years later, but it gave me visibility to them and they got visibility to me.
And how much did you learn from those meetings?
So much.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
about safety and job site trailer setup and
Uh-huh.
the technical side, but I also learned like who picked up the dishes and put them in the sink, who said thank you. What was the interpersonal dynamics going on with the regional leader in Florida versus Colorado? So it was eye-opening to me to just be a fly on the wall for 8 hours a day to watch how leadership runs at a company. It was so educational under the disguise of note taking.
Just taking some notes. Yeah. Love it. Yeah, I think that there's opportunities like that. And you hope that the people see that you're giving giving it. And at first you're like, I don't have time to take notes. Can't you take your own notes? And then you're realizing, man, I'm learning so much for being here.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah. And the mentorship is important. Actually, 2 companies have hired me to mentor their young marketers. And so I meet with them monthly. And what I'm finding so often is young people who come into this industry may not know construction. They're very interested, they're very willing, but they have a big divide between their boss or their leader in their day to day. And so they kind of need somebody in the middle to be their advocate and be a little bit of a guide and a coach. And it may be in like, hey, help her connect with other leaders in the industry or help her understand sense of urgency, managing up, delegation, or it may be the technical skill of like, hey, go teach her Canva.
Right.
But I think that I love that these leaders see this need and want to help their young people get to where they want to go. And ultimately, like, that was the vision behind the Lighthouse. Is like the Lighthouse is solid and steady and stands there to help you get where you want to go. And so it's a joy to be that for an individual or to be that for a company and just help get them where they need to be.
Have you ever heard the phrase lift while you climb? Is that what it's called? Lift while you climb?
Yeah.
I heard that at one of my very first ever conferences that I went to. And that's just one of those things I've never forgotten. And I try to do that. And I think it's always interesting that I get excited when other people do that as well. And then I'm always so confused, like, well, how come everybody doesn't do this? Like I always would joke, well, I have to train my replacement, and I can remember years ago, they're like, are you going someplace? And I said, I'll retire one of these days, like I got to train a replacement. But really, I was just mentoring, other people.
Yeah. And that was like why I called the company Southern Lighthouse. There is a cool phrase that inspired me. It's be a ladder to help someone up, vote to help someone out, or be a lighthouse to help someone through. And I was like, if I ever start a company, it'll be Lighthouse Consulting. And
love it.
That was taken because we're in Texas. We're the
Southern Lighthouse.
Yeah, I think it is our honor and our responsibility to help the people who are a little bit behind us.
Yeah.
To pull them up and pull them forward.
And it's exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
It is such a joy to watch people grow. I mean, that has been the best part of my career is watching companies grow, but primarily individuals who are like, I started here and now I'm here, and you were a tiny part.
Yeah. Yeah. Or a big giant part in it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about some industry insights. And so it's going to be exciting hearing your industry insights because it's not just going to be construction project stuff. So I'm excited about that. So what are some industry trends or specific challenges that you're seeing right now?
I think about our labor shortage every single day. Most of my clients say, we've got work through 2026, 2027. What we don't have is the people to do the work. And I also hear we're not even going to bid on that project because if we get it, we wouldn't be able to fulfill it. We can't do the electrical. We can't do the millwork. We can't do the drywall because we don't have the people to do it. And so I see this as it's a labor shortage problem. It's an industry problem, but like it's a P&L problem. It's a revenue driver problem because we're not even going to try to get more work. We're not even going to try to get more revenue because we don't have the people to do it. That's a huge problem. And so what I also see is the company that tells the best story wins. There is talent out there. There is talent coming into the industry. The more we can articulate what makes us better, special, different, those differentiators, the more we can attract that talent from outside the industry or within the industry. And so that's where just it's so critical to have a strong employer brand that does attract talent, because you have to have it in order to keep your business going.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I'm assuming a lot of these people that you're talking about they're needing like field employees. They don't need, I mean, I think we all need project managers, estimators, those kinds of things, but we really need those trade people out there doing the job.
For sure, it's both. I think a lot of the people I work with need electricians in the field, but they also need estimators, and they also need accountants, and they also need, somebody at the front desk. These are all roles that keep the company going. And so, yes, field is a huge talent shortage immediately. That may be a stronger pain point, but then these more specialized positions like MEP, more mid-level employees too, just as generations are starting to retire out of the workforce, there are not enough people coming in to replace them. So generationally, across the board, we're at a shortage too.
So in my previous engineering life, it was really interesting because pretty much like I don't know, I'm going to say 38 to 45-year-old person is missing.
That's right.
And I was like, what happened? And it was the economy changed. So there weren't jobs for these kids basically who had just gotten out of college. So they got another job and then they never went back to the engineering. And so it's like, man, like you don't think like one person's decision, oh, couldn't find a job, so I'm going to pivot. And then now it's like, holy smokes, we're missing like a very important, group of people.
And that sounds definitely right. In my first few months at Beck, it was fall of 2007, and we were hiring like gangbusters. I remember making tons of offers for that May graduating class, and they were like, sorry, I have 7, 8 offers.
Yeah.
And then the economy flipped.
Yeah.
And it was like, we're rescinding offers, not making hires, we're not hiring even interns, and really investing in that next class when I wished we had.
Yeah.
And so that was the class that started saying, okay, well, if there are no jobs in construction, we're going to go do something else. And then you fast forward 15 years, that's a huge gap because of that recession. There just weren't jobs available.
I don't know what it looks like, but we're talking about like a legacy program of some sort here at Carrco, where we have a lot of people out in the field who perhaps their sons and daughters have gone to college, but they're not even putting companies like us on their radar because they just don't know that there's accounting, marketing, estimating, that kind of thing. So that's one of our big 2026 goals is how do we continue the family legacy of people who've worked with us for years, and perhaps their son or daughter isn't doing the same thing as dad, but maybe they're still here. Yeah. So I'm excited to see where that comes.
That's exciting. And I think, as companies grow, you kind of start to hire your friends and your family. And then you have some referrals, but it's not when you kind of start hitting your head on the ceiling of like, these are all the people I know. What now? And so that's where it really becomes important to like, empower your people to go tell their story, tell their networks, because those employees' networks will 10x anything you have in your own HR department.
Right.
And then beyond that, okay, what are our other outreach tools? Is it our website? Is it social? How can we network in the community, leverage things like Texo and associations to build that brand and reputation so that brand goes way beyond just the people who currently work here, but you hit that second and third and fourth concentric ring.
Yeah, that's exciting. Let's see. What are you most passionate about in your job, and what are some of your future goals?
I love helping companies grow, and I love when they can attract the right talent. I'll tell you a cool story. I worked with C1S Engineering.
Love them.
They were the David beating Goliath when it came to recruiting for engineers. There's we looked 276 engineers in Dallas with 5 to 7 years of experience, and they're all working somewhere. It's like, gosh, how do we hire these people? They're competing against these mega engineering companies. This is a small firm, but they're an awesome firm. And so I interviewed their engineers. I said, why do you like working here? And they all said, it feels like a family. We play kickball, we dress up on Halloween.
Yep.
But also we have a meeting every time somebody works over 40 hours. So we check in and we say, what's wrong? What is going on that caused you to hit that threshold and go beyond? Because they're so serious about work-life balance that they will have a meeting after tracking over 40 hours. Clubhouse in construction has a meeting if you go overtime. Like that's unbelievable. They are really serious about work-life balance. And I was like, that's a really powerful story to tell. And so kind of reformatting like their careers page and their website and telling that story on social was a really powerful way to kind of tell that story as opposed to we're one of 100 engineering firms. Right. This is what makes us special. The other cool thing in talking to one of their superintendents, he lives in Florida, works on job sites all over the place. And I said, why do you like working here? And he goes, they send me a shirt every time they have an event. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, there's a crawfish boil. Everybody at the office goes. Clearly, I'm not here in Florida. I can't go. But they send me a shirt every time. And it makes me feel like I'm remembered, even though I'm offsite. And I just think about how more can we tell the story of what makes them special than how beautiful that one is.
So what's funny is you put some of those notes in your like intake form. And in my head, I was wondering, I wonder if that's C1S. And so that's so funny because I obviously know their marketing lady, so I know some of the things they do, they go over and above on. But as I was reading this, I was like, wait a minute. So it's funny, like you didn't have their name in here.
But I love that reputation is known to you and in your world that is a little different than mine. That reputation pervades.
So fun story, Chad called me. This has been a while back. And so he was asking about engineers. And I said, I know this guy, but I don't know if it's a good fit or not. Well, fast forward 6 months and C1S acquired them. And so it wasn't just one guy, like they got the whole company. Yeah. And so it was funny because Chad called me and he goes, hey, we have to do a 3-way call. And I was like, what are we doing? And he goes, I need you to introduce you to the newest C1S employee. And I'm like, why are we on this call? I'm so confused. I have no clue. And then Grant was on the call and he was like, hey, Andrea. And his voice is very distinctive. And I'm like, why are you on this phone call? I'm so confused. And Chad was like, remember that introduction 6 months ago? We were working on something.
Man, is it not such a small world? Everybody knows everybody. And it's like such a good lesson in like, care for people, do your best, your reputation matters.
Yeah. And be a connector, help people, all of those things. Let's see, what is the biggest struggle you are having right now and how are you tackling it?
I think a lot about capacity and where is my time best spent? Is it spent, internally with the team? Is it spent externally doing business development? Is it spent somewhere in the middle doing like strategy and kind of hands-on work? And so that's a struggle of just like where makes the most sense during the workday to spend my time. Because I think we're constantly needing to market ourselves. We're constantly needing to do business development. You do this every day, but we also got to do the work. So that's a struggle of just like, what is the highest and best use of my time? And getting outside counsel. I had breakfast with my husband this morning and I was like, what do you think? And I'll talk to my team tomorrow. So looking for outside counsel that's always helpful.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. I've heard a lot of people like have meeting fatigue, and you go back to back to back to back meeting, but you still have to get your office chair and your computer stuff done. So it's like, yeah, I'm in meetings all day. When do I get my stuff done?
Yeah,
so,
that'll do for sure. How about you? Like when you think about like business development, like that could be a lot of things. How do you kind of prioritize where to spend your time?
Yeah, so I feel like over the last few years, I've really like prioritized when my focus time, when I need to be behind the computer getting work done. There's a handful of networking events that I'm like, you know what? This is a 3-time-a-year thing. It's not a once a month. It's a 3-time-a-year thing. We've been spending quite a bit of time with people in the office, like encouraging them to get out and do business development. So I feel like lately, a lot of the time has been, not a lot of the time, but lately I've been spending a lot of time doing some like internal trainings. So we have a Carrco book club and now we're kind of upping the game a little bit. It might become something that every employee goes through for this one particular book. And so it's like, okay, well, can't this be some questions? We sit around the table and answer like it's going to have a PowerPoint and, what does this look like? So I've really been thinking about how do I get my people out and comfortable?
Yeah.
How do I answer those questions that they don't even know to ask? Like if you've never been to a clay shoot, what do I need to tell you to expect rather than me just assuming you know what a clay shoot is all about?
Right.
And so there's little things like that where I've kind of had to say, okay, well, you might already know this, but let me tell you X, Y, and Z so then they can put their best foot forward when they're out there with clients.
It's so powerful to move from the person doing the work to the person teaching and empowering others. I had that same transformation when I worked for the Container Store corporate office. I realized as a recruiter, my job was not just to recruit. My job was to teach others how to do it too. Because we were a team of 800 employees. So like my network, my efforts as one person could be multiplied if I empowered our other people to do it. So that's where I really came up with like LinkedIn 101. We just had like a lunch and learn. Distribution center managers could come and just learn how to use LinkedIn and how to recruit on LinkedIn. So it wasn't just me doing it. Now I've just empowered 40 people.
Right.
Like that's the model that we moved to as a business too, of we won't go fish for you. We're not there to put our hands on the keyboard and make posts.
Right.
You.
Right.
We're here to teach a man to fish. It's the Home Depot model. Like you can do it, we can help. I would love to teach you how to go recruit. I'd love to teach you how to go market and empower your people with all the right tools, because that's far more sustainable than anything I can do as one person.
Yeah. Years ago, somebody said, you're creating an army. So then it became like Andrea's army. And I was like, hey, I mean, you can pay for one business development employee, but you can really have 40.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So I love that you're spending your time more internal focus, but really what's going to happen on the back end is like 40 people will be doing what Andrea did as one person.
Yes, that's a game plan.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So some fun personal things. What are some of your hobbies outside of work?
I have fallen in love with tennis. In the last few years, I find that it is my third space. It's not home. It's not work. It is where I don't think about either one. So it has been such a joy to get better, but it's also something I can do with my husband, and we're getting my 8-year-old to learn too. My vision is we could play as a family someday. So tennis is a real joy. And then I love reading. So that's a little bit of an escape. I'm always balancing like a business book and then a fun book. I'm like probably 4-to-1 ratio, but
that's okay.
Reading is a joy and an escape and relaxing for me too.
Well, and I think tennis, I have played tennis like 5 times in my life. Yeah, like, that's it. But I feel like tennis is one, like with your kids, that's something that they'll be able to do for a lifetime. It's not the 100-meter dash. It's not basketball.
I certainly can't 100-meter dash. 40 basketball.
I can dash. I can go 100 meters and it might be in slow motion.
Yes.
I think that's kind of a fun thing to think about though with the kids. Like what's a lifetime hobby that they would be able to do?
That's the hope anyway. They're young enough we can still brainwash them.
Yeah, exactly. That's part of being a parent. Who or what inspires you the most?
My grandmother is 94 years old.
Okay.
She lives on a ranch in South Texas.
Nice.
Love it. Drives the tractor all the time. So that's definitely a lifestyle goal, but she has just always been a North Star and a strong woman who raised a strong woman, of my mom, who's amazing and also inspirational. And so I look at both of them as women who like always put family first and really promoted education and tradition. And, you know, those have kept those values or, you know, passed down to us in our generation and kind of like really set you up for what's important in your life.
Okay, so your kids are 5 and 2.
They're 5 and 8.
5 and 8. 5 and 8. I don't know. I did it backwards. I don't know why I said that. I've seen pictures of them. They're obviously not 2. 5 and 8. So if today, because you said they value education.
Yeah.
What are we going to college? Are we going to trade school? Are we bringing them into the commercial real estate world?
Yeah, you know, the thing I think about, they are so different from each other. The thing I hope for them is that they find something that you're passionate about. Yeah. Whether it's in the industry, in the field, in the office or not. My 8-year-old loves putting things together. And he is like the magnetile Lego builder, the chess player, very like logical and methodical oriented around how things should be together. And the little one is like, let's make banana bread. You know, and let's go dig up carrots in the garden. And I want to be a chef and a firefighter and a police officer all at the same time.
A good combo.
Yes. Yeah. And so, you know, I would say like our job is just to keep them safe and to help them grow to the people they want to be. And like, I'm starting to look and learn at like, what are those innate talents in them? And I hope that wherever they end up, they're leveraging what comes naturally.
Love it. Yeah. From those combinations, I feel like the firefighter would be good since they have to cook while they're there.
You're right. That's a great point. Yeah. He's also a light sleeper, so that's perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. Oh, we got to wake up. We got stuff to do.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah.
That's funny. Okay. We have a quick fire round, which you've listened before.
Yes.
It's not quick fire because I want to know more information. What is the last book that you read? Or tell us what nonfiction and fiction you're reading.
I reread Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Game changer when it came to
It's a good book.
bringing on my operations manager and how to delegate your inbox and categorize all the tasks you're doing into the Eisenhower matrix. Urgent, important, not urgent, important, or not urgent, important, and not urgent, not important. And so like thinking through every email, which category is that? And labeling it. Is this something I need to do? Is this something you can go to execute on? Has been really helpful because it just talks about the value of your time and where do you need to be spending it. In your inbox is probably super low value.
And we spend a lot of time in there.
We do. Yeah. It is a task management system. It is a to-do list.
Yeah.
It can take over your life. And so like just prioritizing it helped a lot. From that book was a huge takeaway. I'm also reading the story about the Chick-fil-A marketing campaign with the cows.
Yeah.
So it's written by the former chief marketing officer at Chick-fil-A about, Truett and how he started this really amazing company based on super strong values. And then this marketing officer came in and said, like, what if instead of us telling people the chicken is great, what if it's the cows? And so like, it's the story of how that transpired, but also this company that was so strong about their values that they aren't open on Sundays. You're like, how much revenue are you missing? Because you're not open 7 days a week, but like that the values of the company were so strong that they will lose revenue based on that. And so that's been a really interesting read from a marketing perspective, but also thinking about the core values of the company and how those come out in just your everyday practices. Yeah. And then I read a murder mystery called The Villa. That was a fun book.
Yeah.
Suspense.
It's always nice to have the fun books. I always say that Will just reads like business books. And I'm like, this is boring. Like, you need to get a murder mystery in your life.
Absolutely. It was me for murder mysteries.
What is your favorite quote?
Be a ladder to help someone up. Be a lighthouse to help someone through, and be a lifeboat to help someone out.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. That's a good one. What is a skill you would like to learn?
I want to be a better cook.
Okay.
Mostly because I have to be. Like, I don't know, people in my house continue to need to eat like every day. It is such a bummer. And I'm like, gosh, it is more economical and more healthy if we do it ourselves, and so I'm trying to really love to learn.
Well, and your son likes to cook.
The 5-year-old will absolutely help me any day of the week.
Yeah.
And makes his own concoctions.
Makes his own what?
He made orange chicken the other night. It was awesome. And he is much more willing to eat it if he makes it. So I figured out that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Are you taking any cooking classes or are we trying recipes? What are we doing?
I met a chef, Caroline Chambers, in real life. I'm like that much obsessed with her, and follow her on Instagram, bought her cookbook. It's called What to Cook When You Don't Feel Like Cooking. So everything is like less than 10 ingredients. Yeah. It's actually good. And you can use one pan or one pot.
Nice.
So it's not messy or long. And so that's been a game changer, like picking a recipe a week and trying that.
New things.
Yeah.
So years ago, do you know Arohi Palankar with OTJ? No. Years ago, she gave me what she will call it this, the Indian starter pack. She's all about her culture. She wants people to try the food, try the spices, try the everythings. And they're like tiny little baby like containers of spices you would never buy because you don't need a whole jar of it because you don't even know what it is at this point. And they were just labeled 4 beans, 4 rice, or whatever. And she's just like, just put in a healthy amount, and so that was just a fun, I never would have bought these things before. So, sometimes you bust them out and put them in. What is the favorite city you have visited?
Backpacked the year after I graduated college through Eastern and Western Europe. And there was a little town called Bruges in Belgium. I just remember this bridge that went over this beautiful body of water and these ancient historic stone homes. And it just was the most picturesque little town I've ever seen, but also a little off the beaten path that it wasn't overrun with tourists. Yes. I would love to go back and do Europe like without a budget, as an adult. Yes. But like not to have a backpack and eat bread and cheese and, try to stretch $1, but like to go back and sleep in a hotel and eat in a restaurant would be a dream.
We have been talking about hiking Mont Blanc at some point in time, and there's different options. So you can backpack it the whole time and carry your backpack and do all the things. And then kind of the next step up is they're not hotels, but they're not like hostels. So whatever that is. Yeah. And then they'll take your suitcase from place to place. So you just have to take your backpack with some water and some snow for the day. And so it's like 13 miles of hiking a day, and it's like a 10-day, 12-day situation. Yeah. So it's definitely on our list. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think there are hotels because it's off the beaten path. Yeah. So it's kind of like you get what you get kind of. But yeah,
I've just always loved that philosophy of traveling close to the ground, right? You're like with the people and living the real life. A lot of what I did that year was couch surfing. So there's a website, couch surfing, or where you matched with residents and you could literally like sleep in their guest bedroom or sofa or whatever, but like it was cheap. But it also allowed me to actually connect with people. And not be a tourist in their city. One was a sailing instructor and took me sailing on the coastal states since that was his job. So it was just really extraordinary to like live real life with real people in another country as opposed to kind of the vacation day. Yeah, the vacation version looks a little different.
Yeah, that's cool. That's one of the things I like about traveling is, getting to know the people and everything that they do.
Yeah, for sure.
So this question may be a little different for you, but what is your favorite construction project that you have been a part of?
When I first got to Beck, the company had finished House of Blues, and my dad came in. This is my first job out of college. I am 22 years old. I'm so proud to have a salary. And I talked to the project manager and I said, is there any way we can get in the VIP lounge at House of Blues? My dad is coming to town. And he's like, absolutely. I'll make a call. I'm like 6 weeks into this new job. He made a call and we got into the VIP lounge. And I remember picking up the menu and being like, woo, the prices are really expensive. But I was so proud to like be able to show this cool restored venue building to my dad as an adult who has a real job. So House of Blues has always like stood out in my memory. Oddly, a few years later, my brother is a Texas singer-songwriter and he played that venue. And so it's very cool to now go back there. My company built this. My brothers played here, brought my dad. So that one has a special place in my heart.
That's cool. I feel like the project that everyone shares is a project that everyone can go to, like a library or a fire station or a House of Blues. It's not that penthouse apartment that only one person goes to. Yeah. It's those projects that you can take your kids to or your dad to.
Yeah, you can share it.
Last quick fire round question. What is a piece of advice to someone just starting out in the industry?
Be curious. I think about Ted Lasso all the time, but so much of what I learned because I asked the question, can we go to the House of Blues and get into the VIP lounge? Can you introduce me to your best client? Could you teach me what a glue and beam is? Can you tell me how to put on a hard hat? There's so much to learn and I have no ego when it comes to asking questions. And I feel like that has helped me so much, both in the personal relationships and also in education, just understanding the alphabet soup that is construction.
Yes.
Ask the question and be curious about the people and the buildings around you.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up all of our questions.
Thank you so much for hosting this podcast. My hope is that people hear about Carrco and they know you. They know that this is a great place to work and to partner with. And thanks so much for the opportunity to be out here.
Thanks for coming on today.
Yes.